Don't scroll just yet. This might be exactly what you need to hear today. Have you ever faced a problem that felt absolutely overwhelming, as if there was no way out? It's a common human experience to feel trapped by challenges, where the immediate circumstances seem to obscure any path forward. But what if there was a different way to approach these difficulties? The idea is, instead of trying to solve a problem directly within the confines of its immediate context, you elevate your perspective. Imagine, for a moment, stepping back and looking at your challenge from a much higher vantage point, seeing it as part of a grander, more expansive landscape. This shift in perspective is incredibly powerful. When you broaden your view, when you allow the world to get bigger around you, those once insurmountable problems begin to shrink in comparison. They can even become so seemingly insignificant that they no longer demand your immediate, intense focus or even require a direct solution. It's about recognizing that many issues simply cannot be effectively resolved when you're deeply entrenched in the situation. By transcending your current viewpoint and adopting a higher dimension of thought, you empower yourself to see beyond the immediate pain or obstacle. This isn't about ignoring your problems, but rather reframing them within a broader context, ultimately diminishing their perceived size and impact. This change in outlook can bring a remarkable sense of relief and open up entirely new avenues for resolution, or the realization that some problems simply dissolve when viewed from a different scale. Inner voice, a remarkable tool. For the past quarter century, I've dedicated my work to understanding the intricacies in which people manage their emotions. It's a fascinating journey, and one of the most profound discoveries I've made is that a critical element in effectively navigating our emotional landscape lies in mastering a truly enigmatic yet incredibly powerful force: the voices within our own heads. This inner dialogue, often taken for granted, is far more significant than most of us realize. Consider this: approximately 1.5 to 1/3 of our waking hours are spent not fully immersed in the present moment. Instead, our minds tend to drift, often engaging in internal conversations. We find ourselves talking to ourselves, and perhaps even more importantly, we are constantly listening to what we say. This seemingly simple act of internal communication, it turns out, is akin to possessing a superpower, because your inner voice lets you keep information active in your head for short periods of time. But its utility extends far beyond temporary memory. We frequently leverage this internal monologue to simulate future scenarios and meticulously plan our actions. Think about the silent rehearsals you undertake before a crucial presentation or a high-stakes job interview. That's your inner voice at work, meticulously crafting your responses and anticipating potential outcomes. And of course, we use our inner voice to control and motivate ourselves. In essence, your inner voice is an incredibly remarkable and versatile tool. However, like any powerful instrument, it can sometimes malfunction. The significant challenge arises when this invaluable tool jams up, precisely when we need it most. Instead of offering clarity and guidance, it can become a source of confusion, making it difficult to formulate clear, actionable solutions to the problems we face. When this happens, our internal monologue, instead of being an ally, can inadvertently become an impediment, preventing us from moving forward effectively. The dark side of chatter, continuing from the previous discussion, when our inner voice malfunctions, it often leads us into detrimental thought patterns. Instead of working through our problems constructively, we frequently find ourselves trapped in negative thought loops. This manifests as excessive worry and rumination. We experience what I call the dark side of our inner voice or chatter. It's a pervasive, often debilitating, internal noise that can significantly impact our well-being and performance. So, how can you recognize if you're experiencing this kind of unproductive chatter? There are 2 distinct telltale signs. First, you might find yourself tirelessly attempting to resolve a problem, yet making absolutely no discernible progress. Second, and perhaps even more insidiously, if you find yourself berating yourself incessantly, saying things like, "I'm an idiot," "such an idiot," those are 2 telltale signs. These persistent self-deprecating thoughts are clear indicators that your inner voice has veered into the territory of negative chatter. The impact of this pervasive chatter is profound. One thing that chatter does, it makes it really hard for us to think and perform. It consumes our attention, leaving very little left over to do the things that we often want and need to do. Imagine trying to concentrate on a complex project while a constant stream of self-doubt and worry plays in the background. It's an exhausting and unproductive experience. Beyond its immediate effect on our productivity and mental clarity, chatter also has a tangible, detrimental impact on our physical health. It creates a wear and tear in our body that is physically damaging, predicting things like problems of cardiovascular disease, inflammation, and even certain forms of cancer. The connection between our mental state and our physical well-being is undeniable, and persistent chatter is a stark reminder of this link. However, the solution isn't to attempt to silence this inner voice entirely. We don't need to silence the inner voice. That would be both impossible and undesirable, as it serves many crucial functions. Instead, we need to guide it. And over the years, science has discovered practical tools to help. Let's begin with language. Using your own name shifts your perspective. This seemingly minor change can radically alter your perspective, creating a valuable psychological distance that empowers you to approach your thoughts more constructively. Malala's distant self-talk. Let's delve into a powerful example of how individuals can manage their inner voice, even in the face of extreme adversity. Consider Malala Yousafzai, who, right before becoming the youngest person to ever win the Nobel Peace Prize, shared a remarkable story during an interview on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. She recounted the terrifying period when she first learned that the Taliban was actively plotting to kill her. Initially, her internal monologue followed a very typical first-person pattern. She recalled thinking, "I used to think that the Taliban would come and he would just kill me." Nothing particularly out of the ordinary here. She's talking to herself in the first person, the way we typically think about our lives. However, a pivotal shift occurred in her internal dialogue when the reality of the situation became undeniably imminent. When she realized, "The Taliban, they're on my doorstep." At this critical juncture, Malala did something kind of strange. She consciously switched her internal dialogue to address herself in the second person, using her own name. She says, "What would you do, Malala?" This immediately created a subtle but significant distance. She then mentally replied to herself, from this new, external perspective, "Malala, just take a shoe and hit him." But the profound wisdom of this self-coaching technique became even clearer in her subsequent internal response. "But then I said, if you hit a Taliban with your shoe, then there would be no difference between you and the Taliban." She starts off in the first person, but then she switches. She's coaching herself. She's giving herself advice like she would someone else, using her name and the word you. This technique allowed her to process an incredibly traumatic event with a surprising degree of clarity and wisdom, ultimately leading to a more profound and ethical response. Solomon paradox and distant self-talk in this instance. What Malala is doing, she's using a tool that we have studied. It is called distanced self-talk. It is useful because we human beings are much better at giving advice to other people than we are taking our own advice. It's a curious paradox, isn't it? We can be the most insightful counselors for our friends, family, or colleagues, offering clear, rational, and effective solutions, yet when faced with our own challenges, our judgment can become clouded and our actions less coherent. There's even a name for this phenomenon. It's called Solomon's paradox, named after the Bible's King Solomon, who was famous for being able to give great advice to other people. But when it came to his own affairs, he stumbled mightily. This highlights the universal human tendency to exhibit greater wisdom and clarity when advising others, compared to navigating our own complex situations. Using your own name and you shifts your perspective. It gets you to relate to yourself like you were giving advice to someone else, and that makes it much easier for us to wisely work through our problems. By framing yourself, talk as if you are advising another person, you unlock your inherent capacity for sound judgment, enabling you to work through challenges much more effectively and with far less emotional entanglement. It's about leveraging your natural inclination to be a good advisor, but directing that capacity inward. Beyond internal strategies, having conversations with other people serves as an vital tool you can use to manage your chatter. But you have to be really careful about who you go to for chatter support. Many people think that the best way to help someone else is to let them vent their emotions, but venting doesn't help us work through our chatter. Therefore, it's essential to select individuals who can offer more than just a listening ear, They should be capable of providing constructive feedback and helping you broaden your perspective. Conversations to truly work through the persistent internal chatter that can impede our lives. The best kinds of conversations with other people do two things. One, the person you're talking to does let you express your emotions. It is important to empathize with and validate what you're going through. This initial phase is about emotional release and acknowledgement, allowing you to articulate the thoughts and feelings that are weighing you down. But then, once you've had an opportunity to share your feelings, they ideally start working with you to broaden your perspective. They are in an ideal position to help you do that, because the problem isn't happening to them. This psychological distance allows them to see the situation with more objectivity and offer insights you might not be able to perceive when you're deeply immersed in the emotional turmoil. So think really carefully about who your chatter advisors are. They should be people who both listen and advise. They should not just be a sounding board, but a true partner in helping you navigate and reframe your challenges. This brings me to my third and final tool that I want to share with you. It's my favorite. It's experiencing awe. Awe is an emotion of profound wonder and reverence, often triggered by something vast, immense, or truly ineffable that transcends our ordinary understanding. It's that feeling of being utterly dwarfed by something magnificent, like gazing at a breathtaking sunset, a starry night sky, or a towering mountain range. About 10 years ago, scientists at Berkeley tracked a group of military veterans and first responders as they paddled down Utah's majestic Green River. They measured participants' levels of PTSD and stress, mental states that are infused with chatter, both before and after the rafting trip. The transformative power of awe, not surprisingly, they found that most of the participants, their stress and PTSD levels declined from the beginning to the end of the experiment. This reduction in psychological distress was a powerful testament to the positive impact of such an immersive experience. But what was surprising was the factor that predicted those declines in PTSD and stress. It was participants' experience of awe. It wasn't just the outdoor activity itself, but the deeply felt sense of wonder and vastness that made the critical difference. Awe is an emotion we experience when we are in the presence of something vast and ineffable. A lot of people get it from an amazing sunset. It's a feeling that momentarily transcends our everyday concerns and connects us to something much larger than ourselves. I'm a science geek, so I get it when I contemplate outer space and interplanetary travel. We have an SUV on Mars right now, sending us footage back of that terrain. That is awe-inspiring to me. It's a visceral reminder of the sheer scale and wonder of the universe we inhabit. When we experience this emotion of awe, it leads to what we call a shrinking of the self. We feel smaller when we're contemplating something vast and indescribable. And here's the crucial insight. When we feel smaller, so does our chatter. It's as if the vastness of the external world provides a powerful counterpoint to the narrow focus of our internal zaddies, offering a profound sense of perspective and quietude.